Right now, in this very moment, you are exactly where your choices have brought you, not your circumstances, not your background, not what happened to you last week or last year. Your choices, every single decision you've made, every action you've taken, every response you've given to life's events, has led you to this precise point in time. And here's what most people refuse to accept. That means you have far more power than you think you do. Look around at your life right now. Your health, your relationships, your bank account, your level of happiness, all of it traces back to a series of choices. The choice to exercise or skip it, the choice to save money or spend it, the choice to invest in relationships or neglect them, the choice to respond with patience or react with anger, the choice to take responsibility or blame others. But here's where it gets interesting. If your choices brought you here, then different choices can take you somewhere else, and that somewhere else, that's your vision waiting for you. The question is, are you ready to make different choices, or are you going to keep doing what you've always done and wonder why nothing changes? Let me tell you about Sarah. 3 years ago, she was drowning in debt, working a job she hated, and feeling completely trapped. She had every reason to stay stuck. Single mother, no college degree, living paycheck to paycheck. But one Tuesday morning, something shifted. She was sitting in her car before work, dreading another day, when she asked herself one simple question: what if I stopped waiting for my life to get better, and started making it better? That question changed everything. Not because her circumstances magically improved, but because she stopped seeing herself as a victim of her circumstances, and started seeing herself as the author of her story. The very next day, she made her first different choice. Instead of buying coffee on her way to work, she made it at home, and put that $5 into a savings jar. $5, that's it, but that $5 represented something much bigger. It represented the moment she decided to take control. Within a week, she was looking for ways to save money everywhere. Within a month, she had started a side business selling handmade crafts online. Within 6 months, she had enrolled in night classes. Within 2 years, she had paid off her debt and left her old job. Today she owns her own business and lives the life she once thought was impossible. What changed for Sarah? Her circumstances were the same that Tuesday morning as they were the Monday before. Her bank account hadn't improved. Her job hadn't gotten better. Her challenges hadn't disappeared. But her relationship with choice had transformed completely. She stopped asking, why is this happening to me? And started asking, how do I respond to this? That's the power of choice. It's not about having perfect circumstances. It's about recognizing that in every moment you have options. You can choose your response. You can choose your next action. You can choose what story you tell yourself about what's happening. Think about your own life for a moment. How many times have you found yourself saying, I have no choice, when what you really meant was, I don't like any of my options? How many times have you acted like a passenger in your own life instead of the driver? Every day you're making thousands of choices. Most of them seem small and insignificant. What time to wake up, what to eat for breakfast, how to respond to that email, whether to check your phone or focus on your work, whether to exercise or watch television, whether to speak kindly to your family or let stress make you irritable. These choices might seem meaningless in the moment, but they're actually the building blocks of your future. Think of it like this. If you were building a house, would you care about each individual brick? Probably not. One brick doesn't seem to matter much. But a house is nothing more than thousands of individual bricks placed one after another. Your life is the same way. It's built one choice at a time. Missing one workout won't ruin your health, but missing 365 workouts will. Eating one unhealthy meal won't destroy your body, but eating 1,000 unhealthy meals will. Being impatient with your spouse one time won't end your marriage, but being impatient 1,000 times might. Spending money you don't have once won't bankrupt you, but doing it repeatedly will. The beautiful thing about understanding this is that it works in reverse too. Making one good choice won't transform your life overnight, but making thousands of good choices will. Reading for 10 minutes today won't make you smart, but reading for 10 minutes every day for a year will change how you think. Saving $10 today won't make you wealthy, but saving consistently will build security. Exercising for 20 minutes today won't get you in shape, but exercising consistently will transform your body and your confidence. Most people live unconsciously. They make choices based on how they feel in the moment rather than where they want to go. They choose comfort over growth, instant gratification over long-term success, the easy path over the right path. Then they wonder why their lives don't change. But you're different. You're here because something inside you knows you're meant for more. You have a vision of what your life could be, and you're tired of watching that vision remain just a dream. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't filled with luck or circumstances or opportunities. It's filled with choices. Now let's talk about responsibility, because this is where most people get uncomfortable. True responsibility isn't about blame or guilt or beating yourself up for past mistakes. True true responsibility is actually the most liberating force in the universe. When you truly accept responsibility for your life, you stop being a victim and start being a creator. Here's what responsibility really means. It means recognizing that while you can't control what happens to you, you can absolutely control how you respond to what happens to you. It means understanding that your life is not the sum of your circumstances, but the sum of your responses to your circumstances.
Think about two people who lose their jobs on the same day. One person spends months feeling angry, blaming the economy, the company, their boss. They become bitter and depressed. The other person takes a day to feel disappointed, then starts looking for opportunities. They update their resume, reach out to contacts, maybe even consider starting their own business. 6 months later, the first person is still unemployed and angry. The second person has found a better job or built a successful business. Same circumstance, completely different outcomes. The difference wasn't luck, it was their response to the circumstance. When you blame external factors for your life, you give away your power. You become dependent on things outside your control to change before your life can improve. But when you take responsibility, you reclaim that power. You realize that you don't need permission from anyone or anything to start improving your life. You don't need perfect circumstance. You just need to start making better choices. But wait, you might be thinking, some things really aren't my fault. What about the things that happened to me that I had no control over? You're absolutely right. There are events in life that are completely outside our control. Accidents happen. People disappoint us. Economies crash. Loved ones get sick. These things are real, and they matter. But here's the crucial distinction. There's a difference between what happens to you and what you do with what happens to you. You may not be responsible for what happened, but you are responsible for what happens next. You may not have chosen your circumstances, but you can choose your response to those circumstances. This isn't about denying pain or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about recognizing that even in the most difficult situations, you still have choices. You can choose bitterness or growth. You can choose to let circumstances define you, or use them to refine you. You can choose to stay stuck in the past or move forward into your future. When you fully embrace this level of responsibility, something magical happens. You stop wasting energy on things you can't control, and start focusing all your energy on things you can control. You stop waiting for life to happen to you, and start making life happen for you. So what choice is in front of you right now? What area of your life have you been avoiding responsibility for? What story have you been telling yourself about why things can't change? What excuse have you been using to stay comfortable instead of growing? Your vision is waiting for you, but it's waiting on the other side of different choices. It's waiting on the other side of taking full responsibility for your life. It's waiting on the other side of recognizing that you have far more power than you've been using. The moment you decide to exercise that power, everything changes. Not overnight, but it changes. And as those changes compound over time, as those new choices build momentum, you'll find yourself living in ways that once seemed impossible. Because that's what happens when you align your choices with your vision instead of your circumstances. But understanding the power of choice is just the beginning. To transform that understanding into real results, you need to understand how growth actually works, how life operates according to certain predictable patterns, and how to work with those patterns instead of against them. Success follows the same laws as farming, and if you understand how a farmer thinks, you'll understand why most people fail and why some people create extraordinary results. A farmer plants seeds in spring, tends them through summer, and harvests in fall. He doesn't plant corn on Monday and expect to harvest it on Friday. He doesn't curse the ground when nothing appears after a week. He doesn't abandon his field when storms come. Why? Because he understands the process. Yet most people approach their goals like impatient gardeners. They want immediate results from consistent action. They plant seeds of effort today and expect to see fruits of success tomorrow. When nothing visible happens after a few weeks, they assume they're wasting their time. When challenges arise, they think they're on the wrong path. When progress seems slow, they quit and look for faster methods. But here's what the farmer knows that most people don't. The most important growth happens underground, where you can't see it. When you plant a seed, it doesn't immediately sprout. First it breaks down in the darkness, then it develops roots. Only after the foundation is strong does anything appear above ground. And even then, what you see first is just the beginning of what's possible. Your goals work exactly the same way. When you start eating healthier, you don't see immediate changes in your body, but your cells are already responding. When you start reading every day, you don't instantly become smarter, but your mind is already expanding. When you start saving money, you don't immediately feel wealthy, but your security is already growing. The farmer also understands seasons. He knows there's a time to plant, a time to tend, a time to harvest, and a time to rest and prepare for the next cycle. He doesn't try to harvest in winter or plant in the fall. He works with natural timing, not against it. Your life has seasons too. Sometimes you're in a planting season,
learning new skills, making new connections, laying groundwork. Sometimes you're in a tending season, working consistently, overcoming obstacles, staying patient while growth happens. Sometimes you're in a harvest season, seeing results, reaping rewards, celebrating progress. And sometimes you're in a preparation season, reflecting, planning, gathering strength for the next phase. Most people get frustrated because they want to be in harvest season all the time. They don't want to plant or tend, they just want to collect. But you can't harvest what you haven't planted. You can't skip the seasons and expect the same results. What season are you in right now? Are you fighting against it, or are you working with it? Are you doing what this season requires, or are you trying to force results that belong to a different season?
Now let's talk about the compound effect, because this is where small actions create massive results. The compound effect is simple to understand, but difficult to trust. It says that small, consistent actions, repeated over time, create extraordinary outcomes. Not big actions, not perfect actions, just consistent actions. Read 10 pages every day, and you'll finish 18 books in a year. Most people don't read 18 books in a decade. Save $10 every day, and you'll have over $3,000 by year's end. Most people don't have $300 in savings. Exercise for 20 minutes daily, and by year's end you'll have invested over 100 hours in your health. Most people don't exercise 100 hours per year total. The numbers seem small when you look at daily actions, but they become massive when you look at annual results. And they become life-changing when you look at 5 or 10-year results. A person who reads consistently for 10 years doesn't just know more facts, they think differently. Their entire perspective on life has shifted. A person who exercises consistently for 10 years doesn't just look different, they feel different, act different, and approach challenges differently. But here's why most people struggle with the compound effect. The results are invisible for a long time, then suddenly they become obvious. You can save money for months and still feel broke. You can exercise for weeks and still look out of shape. You can study for a year and still feel like you don't know enough. During this invisible phase, most people quit. They quit because they're measuring daily progress instead of annual transformation. They're looking for evidence that their small actions matter, but they're looking in the wrong time frame. It's like checking your bank account every day when you're making tiny deposits and expecting to see dramatic changes. The changes are happening, but they're too small to notice day by day. Think about the last time you looked at photos of yourself from 5 years ago. You probably noticed differences that you never saw day by day. Your appearance changed gradually, so gradually that you didn't notice it happening. The compound effect works the same way, but in reverse. Small positive actions repeated consistently create positive changes so gradually that you don't notice them happening until one day you realize you've become a completely different person. The key is to trust the process during the invisible phase. Keep making deposits in your health account even when you don't see changes in the mirror. Keep making deposits in your knowledge account even when you don't feel smarter. Keep making deposits in your relationship account even when conflicts still arise. The compound effect is working whether you see it or not, but there's something even deeper at work here. Something most people never recognize. Life operates according to predictable patterns, and when you understand these patterns, you gain tremendous power over your results. Every area of growth follows the same basic pattern: comfort zone, challenge, growth, new comfort zone. You start in a place that feels safe and familiar, then something pushes you out of that comfort zone, a new goal, a new opportunity, a new problem. This creates discomfort, uncertainty, maybe even fear. Most people try to get back to their old comfort zone as quickly as possible. But if you stay in the discomfort and work through the challenge, you grow, and once you've grown, you establish a new, larger comfort zone. The pattern then repeats at a higher level. New comfort zone, new challenge, new growth, newer comfort zone. This is how you expand your capacity, your confidence, your capabilities. But here's the crucial point. Growth only happens in the challenge phase. Comfort zones don't create growth. They preserve what you already have. So when challenges show up in your life, and they will show up, don't see them as evidence that you're on the wrong path. See them as evidence that you're growing. The size of the challenge often corresponds to the size of the growth opportunity. Small challenges create small growth. Big challenges create big growth. But you have to respond to challenges correctly, or they become obstacles instead of opportunities. And this brings us to one of the most important skills you can develop: the ability to choose your response instead of just reacting. Between every event and your response to that event, there's a space. In that space lies your power to choose. Most people's responses are automatic. Something happens and they immediately react based on past conditioning, current emotions, or ingrained habits. But successful people have learned to expand that space, to pause and choose their response consciously. When someone criticizes you, you can react with defensiveness, or you can respond by asking what you can learn. When you face a setback, you can react with discouragement, or you can respond by adjusting your strategy.
When you encounter an opportunity, you can react with fear of failure, or you can respond with excitement about possibilities. Your responses, not your circumstances, determine your results. Two people can face identical situations and create completely different outcomes based on how they respond. One person loses their job and falls into depression. Another loses their job and starts the business they always dreamed of. One person faces a health challenge and becomes bitter. Another faces the same challenge and transforms their entire lifestyle. The circumstances didn't create different results. The responses did. And responses are choices. They're skills you can develop. The more conscious you become about your responses, the more power you have over your results.
But conscious responding requires mental discipline, because your mind will try to pull you back into unconscious reacting. Your mind is constantly creating stories about what events mean, and these stories trigger automatic responses. Someone doesn't return your call, and your mind creates a story that they don't like you. You face a challenge, and your mind creates a story that you're not capable. You experience a setback, and your mind creates a story that your goals are impossible. These stories feel true when you're thinking them, but they're just interpretations, and interpretations can be changed. Instead of "they don't like me," you can think "they're probably busy." Instead of "I'm not capable," you can think "I need to develop new skills." Instead of "my goals are impossible," you can think "I need to adjust my approach." The stories you tell yourself about what happens to you determine how you feel about what happens to you. And how you feel determines how you respond. And how you respond determines your results. So managing your mental stories isn't just positive thinking. It's practical success strategy. Start paying attention to the stories your mind creates throughout the day. When something doesn't go as planned, what story does your mind immediately create? When someone acts in a way you don't like, what meaning does your mind assign to their behavior? When you face a challenge, what does your mind tell you about what this means? Then ask yourself, is this story helpful or harmful? Does this story move me toward my vision or away from it? What story would the successful version of me tell about this situation? You don't have to believe every thought your mind produces. Thoughts are just mental events, not truth. You can observe your thoughts, evaluate them, and choose which ones to focus on and which ones to dismiss. This is mental mastery, and it's the foundation of all other success skills. Because here's what most people don't realize. Everything you want to achieve requires you to become someone different than who you are right now. Your current results are being produced by your current thinking, feeling, and acting patterns. If you want different results, you need different patterns. And different patterns require mental discipline. You have to discipline your mind to focus on solutions instead of problems, possibilities instead of limitations, what you can control instead of what you can't control. You have to discipline your mind to see opportunities and challenges, lessons and setbacks, and growth and discomfort. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect or denying reality. It's about choosing mental focus that serves your vision instead of mental focus that sabotages it. Because whatever you focus on consistently becomes your reality. Focus on problems, and you'll find more problems. Focus on solutions, and you'll find more solutions. Focus on what's wrong with your life, and you'll see more of what's wrong. Focus on what's possible for your life, and you'll see more possibilities. Your mind is the most powerful tool you have for creating your vision, but only if you learn to direct it consciously instead of letting it run on autopilot. Most people let their minds wander wherever circumstances push them, but you can train your mind to stay focused on what matters most regardless of what's happening around you. This mental training becomes the foundation for everything else, because when you can control your thoughts, you can control your emotions. When you can control your emotions, you can control your actions. And when you can control your results, you can create your vision. But knowledge without application is just entertainment. Understanding these principles won't change your life unless you eliminate the internal enemies that prevent you from applying them consistently. Your biggest enemy isn't your circumstances. It isn't the economy, your boss, your family, or your past. Your biggest enemy is sitting right between your ears, and it's been sabotaging your success for years. This enemy is sneaky, persistent, and knows exactly which buttons to push to keep you stuck. It speaks in your own voice, uses your own logic, and convinces you that staying safe is more important than growing strong. This enemy has 3 favorite weapons: excuses, procrastination, and blame. And right now, as you're listening to this, it's probably already starting to whisper reasons why what I'm about to tell you won't work for you. It's telling you that your situation is different, that you've tried before, that change is too hard, that you don't have enough time, money, or support. Can you hear it? That voice that always has a reason why you can't, shouldn't, or won't. That's self-sabotage in action, and it's the reason most people never reach their vision, no matter how clear that vision might be. Here's what self-sabotage really is. It's your mind's way of keeping you safe from the unknown. Your brain is designed to keep you alive, not to make you successful. It sees change as danger, and comfort as safety. So every time you try to grow, to stretch, to become more than you are, your brain activates its defense systems. It floods you with fear,
doubt, and perfectly logical reasons to stay exactly where you are. The excuse machine starts running immediately. I don't have time for this. I'm too old to start now. I don't have the right education. I can't afford it. What if I fail? What will people think? I'll start next month when things calm down. I need to do more research first. Sound familiar? Every single one of these excuses feels completely valid when you're thinking it. But here's the truth. Successful people have the same thoughts. The difference is they recognize these thoughts for what they are, protection mechanisms, not reality, and they act anyway. Procrastination doesn't announce itself. It doesn't show up saying, "Hey, I'm here to waste your time." Instead, it shows up dressed as productivity. It convinces you to organize your desk instead of making sales calls. It has you researching the perfect workout program instead of actually exercising. It gets you planning your business instead of starting your business.
Procrastination is brilliant because it gives you the feeling of progress without any actual progress. You feel busy, you feel productive, but at the end of the day, you're no closer to your vision than you were at the beginning. And then there's blame, the most seductive of all. Blame feels so good in the moment because it takes all the pressure off you. It's not your fault, you're not successful, it's the market, the government, your upbringing, your lack of connections, your bad luck. Blame lets you stay comfortable while feeling righteous about your lack of progress. But here's what blame really costs you. It costs you your power. Every time you blame external factors for your results, you're essentially saying, "I am powerless to change my circumstances." You're making yourself a victim of forces beyond your control. Now, why does your mind sabotage you when you're trying to improve your life? Because deep down, part of you doesn't believe you deserve success. Part of you is afraid that if you really try and still fail, you'll have to face the painful truth that maybe you're not capable of more. So instead of risking that pain, your mind keeps you from really trying at all. It's easier to tell yourself you could have been successful if you had really tried than to try and discover you might not be capable of what you want. Self-sabotage protects you from that potential disappointment by ensuring you never find out what you're truly capable of. But here's what I want you to understand. That fear is lying to you. You are capable of far more than you've allowed yourself to believe. The proof is in how elaborate your self-sabotage has become. You don't develop sophisticated defense systems to protect something that isn't valuable. Your mind works so hard to keep you small because it knows how powerful you could become. So how do you recognize when you're sabotaging yourself? You learn to identify the difference between success mentality and mediocrity mentality, because these two ways of thinking create completely different results. When faced with a challenge, mediocrity mentality immediately looks for someone or something to blame. Success mentality immediately looks for a solution. When something goes wrong, mediocrity mentality asks, "Why me?" Success mentality asks, "What can I learn from this?" When an opportunity appears, mediocrity mentality lists all the reasons it won't work. Success mentality figures out how to make it work. When facing a setback, mediocrity mentality sees evidence that dreams are impossible. Success mentality sees feedback that helps refine the approach. Mediocrity mentality focuses on problems and talks about them constantly. Success mentality acknowledges problems briefly, then spends most of its energy on solutions. Mediocrity mentality waits for perfect conditions before taking action. Success mentality creates momentum with imperfect action. Think about a recent challenge in your life. Which mentality did you apply? Did you spend more time explaining why it was difficult or figuring out how to handle it? Did you focus on what was wrong with the situation or what you could do to improve it? The mentality you choose in small moments determines the results you get in big moments. And here's the key. Mentality is a choice. You're not stuck with the mentality you've been using. You can decide right now to start thinking like the successful version of yourself instead of thinking like the struggling version. But knowing about self-sabotage isn't enough. You need a system for eliminating these destructive patterns when they show up. Here's a simple framework that works. Awareness, interruption, replacement, and reinforcement. You can't change a pattern you don't recognize. Start paying attention to your thoughts and behaviors, especially when you're facing something that could move you toward your vision. Notice when the excuse machine starts running. Notice when you suddenly find urgent tasks that distract you from important work. Notice when you start focusing on problems instead of solutions. The moment you catch yourself in a self-sabotaging pattern, move to interruption. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this moving me toward my vision or away from it? Am I acting from fear or from faith? What would the successful version of me do right now? Then comes replacement. You can't just stop a negative pattern, you have to replace it with a positive one. If you catch yourself making excuses, immediately list 3 actions you could take instead. If you catch yourself procrastinating, commit to working on your most important task for just 15 minutes. If you catch yourself blaming, ask, what's one thing I can control in this situation? Finally, reinforcement. Celebrate when you catch yourself and change direction. Acknowledge when you choose action over excuses.
solutions over problems, responsibility over blame. The more you reinforce these positive choices, the stronger these new patterns become. Now, let's talk about the daily disciplines that will accelerate your progress toward your vision. Because understanding principles is one thing, but implementing them consistently is what creates transformation. Your morning sets the tone for your entire day. Instead of checking your phone and immediately reacting to other people's agendas, start each day by connecting with your own agenda. Spend the first few minutes visualizing your vision. See yourself living the life you want to create. Feel what it feels like to be that person. This isn't fantasy. This is programming your mind to recognize opportunities that align with your vision.
Then, identify the 3 most important tasks that will move you toward your vision today. Not the 3 most urgent tasks, not the 3 easiest tasks, but the 3 most important tasks. Write them down. Commit to completing them before you do anything else. Before you end each day, conduct a brief review. What did you do well today? What could you improve tomorrow? What patterns showed up? Did you let excuses, procrastination, or blame influence your actions? This daily review builds the awareness that allows you to catch self-sabotage faster and more consistently. Physical movement is crucial because your body and mind are connected. When your body is strong and energized, your mind thinks more clearly, and your confidence increases. You don't need to become an athlete. You just need to move your body regularly in ways that challenge it. Continuous learning keeps your mind growing and your skills sharp. Read something related to your vision every day, even if it's just for 10 minutes. Listen to educational content while you exercise or commute. Invest in courses, workshops, or coaching that will accelerate your progress. Gratitude practice might sound soft, but it's actually one of the most powerful tools for maintaining positive momentum. When you regularly acknowledge what's working in your life, your mind starts looking for more things that are working. This creates an upward spiral of positive focus and positive results. But here's what most people miss. The magic isn't in doing these things occasionally when you feel motivated. The magic is in doing them consistently, especially when you don't feel like it. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. Your vision isn't waiting for you to feel ready. It's not waiting for perfect conditions, or unlimited time, or complete confidence. Your vision is waiting for you to become the person who does what needs to be done, day after day, regardless of how you feel. And here's something crucial to understand. You're closer than you think. Most people quit right before their breakthrough because they can't see how close they are to success. They've been working and growing and building momentum, but the results aren't visible yet, so they assume nothing is happening, and they give up. But success works like a bamboo plant. Bamboo grows underground for years, building an extensive root system with nothing visible above ground. Then, in its 4th or 5th year, it suddenly shoots up 90 feet in 6 weeks. All that time when nothing seemed to be happening, everything was happening. The foundation was being built. Your consistent daily actions are building that foundation right now. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, responsibility over blame, action over excuses, you're strengthening that root system. And when your breakthrough comes, and it will come, it will seem sudden to everyone else, but you'll know it was years in the making. The question isn't whether you can achieve your vision. The question is whether you'll eliminate the self-sabotage and implement the daily disciplines that make your vision inevitable. Will you stop listening to the voice that keeps you small and start acting like the person your vision requires you to become? Your vision is waiting for you. But first you need to understand exactly how growth works, how life operates according to certain predictable patterns, and how to align yourself with those patterns instead of fighting against them.